Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for soul growth. Come journey with us through astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sue Minahan, and today is September 7th. The eclipse occurred just a few hours ago, and I was awake here thinking, ooh, it's happening. Well, it's happening for an extended period. It's a vibrational experience that many of us feel sets up several weeks ahead. And it's a 2-week period because in 2 weeks we have a solar eclipse where the sun will be blotted out. Although that one is pretty fresh. It starts down at the South Pole and basically in the ocean and parts of Australia and that we'll see it. But we experience these. And that's why we're having this wonderful conversation today with our special guest. There'll be 3 of us, and we'll explain about that in a moment. But it's really an interweaving moment of patterns adjusting, asking us for great changes. What are we releasing to open up always to the future, to the present that's wanting to burble up, hopefully in great consciousness, great in awareness. Well, let's find out more about this, and because we are now ready for Planet Buzz.
Focusing on perspectives of pattern-planet cycle relationships and understanding their archetypal energy consciousness, reflecting through history, current events, mythology, and philosophical questions, these are the members of Planet Buzz.
I'm Sue Rose Minahan, founder of Talk Cosmos since 2018. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, consultant, speaker, writer, vibrational astrology student, Dwarf Planet University graduate, Kepler Astrology Toastmasters Club charter member. I have a fine arts music degree plus a certificate in jazz. I'm an artist, musician, and certified color energy life coach. Especially, I love mythology and esoteric philosophies.
And I'm Dr. Laura Tad. I work as a spiritually oriented psychological astrologer with students and clients around the world. As a counselor, writer, and educator, I love helping people recognize their inner strengths, take advantage of auspicious moments, and navigate times of challenge with greater ease. On my own podcast, Mythic Sky Storytime, I discuss astrology, mythology, and actualizing our full potential. Learn more at mythicsky.com.
Plus, a special guest who we will introduce in just a short moment.
And as the ancient Hermetic Code reveals,
as below, so above. As above, so below.
Hello, hi, Laura, Dr. Tad.
Hi.
Once again. Yeah.
Good to be back on this auspicious day of the lunar eclipse.
Isn't it true? You can't always plan, but here it was and is experiencing. Eclipses are pretty phenomenal, especially if you see it, which I surely couldn't over here. The moon, as my neighbor said, well, there was a full moon. I said, well, it's an eclipse. Well, what did that mean to them? But it does. It has that energetic self. So perhaps we should just jump in and get to our wonderful guest, who is Louise Eddington. Hi, Louise. It's so great.
Hi. Thanks for having me back again. 3rd time this year, right?
Oh, it has been. It's been 3 times. It's been delightful. Louise Eddington is from Salt Lake City, and you can find her on Substack at Louise Eddington. And also, she has a book, Sacred Threads Imprint, because she has a brand new book out series about the astrologer that both Laura and I have and have read, and it's marvelous. Oh, it's just magnificent. It's a good read. It's a thorough read, and it's a repeat read. So it's a bonus, and we'll get to it too at the middle. But also, she's the Cosmic Owl, has her own YouTube, and the Wisdom Weaver. It teaches extensively, lectures a great deal. She's practiced astrology for 30 years, and she's written books, several books. She's OPA, that's Organization of Professional Astrology, certified practitioner and peer group leader, which I Are you in the upcoming one happening
Yep.
pretty shortly? Yes.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Haven't signed up.
I'm also one of their mentors now as well. I'm actually taking a group through a mentorship program too. So
wonderful. Mentoring is so much fun. I'm enjoying my tutoring that I'm doing. And a certified Venus star point practitioner with Ariel Gutman, which I really admire, because to me, Ariel's book, the Venus Star Rising, I think it is a fabulous book on that energy. So hello and thank you. Glad to join Laura, Tad. Yes. And
yes.
Okay. Well, because we're talking about eclipses, I thought this diagram would immediately set us up a little bit. It's a path involving the moon and the sun. They each go around the moon, of course, orbits Earth, and Earth has its celestial path around the sun. And when they intersect, those are called nodes, means meeting points. And one is going ascending, which is going to the North Node, and one is descending, going to the South Node. And so in astrology, particularly in evolutionary astrology, we look at the past as our karmic package that we've inherited for this lifetime. And I always feel we've chosen it, because we have probably a myriad of packages that we could have chosen. But that one is what makes sense for us in this lifetime. And the polar opposite of it is the North Node. And that isn't as familiar, because it has challenges that help the South Node, because there's always weaknesses and strengths with everything, and we can get set in certain ways that need encouragement, a shift. So that's what we do, is embrace these. And at the moment, we have a South Node in Virgo and the North Node in Pisces, so any comments here, or shall I jump ahead?
I mean, there's a lot you could talk about the nodes, but I think for the purpose of talking about the eclipse, it's moving forward.
All right. Well, we'll begin with the lunar eclipse, because that was today in Pisces. And I just wanted to mention there are retrograde planets throughout this period. The outer planets are particularly in that cycle where now they apparent retrograde from Earth, because as they go around the corner, it looks like, oops, they're going backwards. So that's our experience. It's all our experience from Earth. But they are the outer ones. Saturn, Uranus will be coming shortly. Neptune, Pluto, Ceres, also a dwarf planet, and Chiron, the centaur of healing and alchemy, alchemizing our experience. So, and perhaps people in some parts of the globe saw this blood moon. It is a total eclipse, so it's possible with the refractions, because it's the sun, the light waves. The red ones are long ones, the blue are short. So the blue gets scattered, and the red ones are what we see reflected in it.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of Eastern Europe and further east, right? That's sort of that's the area, the globe that this was visible, right? Like here on the East Coast, right? It was 3:00 in the afternoon, middle of the day. It's not visible. And so as you got more into Eastern Europe, then it was starting to be visible. Even sort of the UK, it's like, well, it's still a little early, right? The sun's sort of just setting as it was happening. But there was a big chunk of the planet that was visible.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. The shadow of the Earth just blocks that reflection from the sun. But
I think it's important to, like, even if you can't physically see it, the energy is still present. Whether or not you are in a part of the planet that an eclipse is visible, it doesn't actually dilute, I think, how it impacts you, because that's more how it lines up with your own individual astrology in many ways.
It's vibrational. And as we personally had said earlier, it's affecting each one of our charts, because, and for other people, because it's 15 degrees, you can go in a latitude of maybe 5 to 25 even. It's a luminary of any of the mutable signs. And it is by itself, without even all the other aspects of the map, activating something, right?
Oh, yes, it certainly is.
Right. Well, in Pisces is our North Node, although it's not at. Well, it is. Both of these are paradoxes or dichotomies, however we want to see it, because lunar is a releasing eclipse, except it's at our North Node. So what is it that maybe we're trying to release? It's Piscean, so that we can really benefit with that gift of the North Node. And it might be escapism, saying,
it could be, illusions around the future could be a release point. Yeah. That what we're projecting and versus what we're thought we were striving towards in that North Node energy maybe was an illusion because it's Pisces, and it's that nothing is what it seems. Or I sometimes think of Pisces as like how images get distorted when you look through water. I think more than any of the other water signs, that's sort of how I see Piscean energy, is that distortion.
Yes, like when you're under the water as a kid, and you're opening your eyes up and you can't quite see what you dropped in the pool. You sort of reach
I
around.
also see it as kind of clouds. Everything's kind of clouded, so
Yeah.
Which
I
is
get glasses before cleaning them or something. But interestingly, looking at even this list, I'm thinking music. So often I'll think, I need a break. I'll turn on the music, and something in that music, which is a diversion, right? It might be an escape, kind of a break from what's happening. But the lyrics, that's where the thought of this spirituality of life, it offers a sign or a message that suddenly is revealing. It's expressing what I've been feeling, or it directs, or it navigates. So
it's kind of that inner knowing as well, more than the faith, belief, the trust, the surrender. That's very Piscean as well. And it's to mind these eclipses are really asking us to integrate that kind of scientific, rational kind of knowing, Virgo, with that just tuning in to just those little kind of nudges of knowing, and kind of learning to work with them both. That's how I see it.
Beautiful. Yes. There is some history involved, always with cycles, particularly very timed cycles. And eclipses are one of those, along with the equinox and the solstices, that we can actually gauge down to a finite moment. So, but looking at this, and Laura is very helpful, very astute at also deciphering the history.
Virgo moon in the 9th. I don't have a choice.
Yeah, and well, we all, and I love it. I've got ascendant here and my own Saturn. So, but the last time there was in Pisces, there was a total, not just partial, but a total lunar eclipse at 15 degrees at the North Node, not the South Node, but the North Node, was hundreds of years ago, 1653. And Laura, perhaps you want to talk about that date.
What I found particularly interesting, and Louise, maybe being a Brit, you can speak a little more to some of the history, is that it was really sort of the beginning of Cromwell coming to prominence, and him taking over Ireland, and all of that involved for hundreds of years. And from the Irish perspective, the horrific things that resulted in repercussion of Oliver Cromwell's sort of takeover of the British government, right? So that year he disassembled the Parliament of the UK. Like he took over basically.
Yeah.
Isn't that such a Pisces word as well, though? Dissolving Parliament.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
Anyway,
absolutely. And no boundaries.
Sorry,
Totally.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And then I just found it fascinating that in 1922, when Ireland broke off all but Ulster, and so the Irish Republic was formed, that it took until 1922 to undo what Cromwell did, and the nodes were flipped. Which was just fascinating to me, that we had that correlation. So I don't know what might be going on in the UK and Ireland. I haven't heard it. My dad lives in Ireland, but I haven't heard anything momentous, going on at the moment. But it just seemed an interesting through line of that, and that it was. I didn't expect it that I'd have to go back so many hundreds of years to find this total lunar eclipse. I mean, in general, I was finding total lunar eclipses in Pisces, not on the North Node. There was none in the 20th century. It didn't happen at all. And so, it's just an interesting the way so this is part of what feels powerful to me about that is, so there's only been one on the North Node in any of our lifetimes. No one on the planet has experienced more than one of a Pisces total eclipse on the North Node. Because you have to go back to the.
Maybe we should just. Did you have something you were thinking about England though, with all of that? It seemed like you were about to comment, and during that process.
Well, I was just thinking, it's similar to what's happening in the US, really. Instead, with the old rules and things, and being forcibly dissolved and taken down. The good thing is that Cromwell did not last very long, even though it took a long time for.
And interestingly, I thought too that the very fact that New Amsterdam, which originally was founded by the Dutch, which we don't often remember that the Dutch were here in this continent colonizing, but now New York City, which is experiencing quite a bit in the news. Well, thank you. That is excellent feedback and for people to consider. Let's look at the chart itself. Here it is. It was today, this morning. Now for Greenwich time, it was, do I have that right? 6 p.m.? 6 p.m. Well, that means it hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen.
No, it was about an hour ago.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So, that's universal time. I think at the moment Greenwich is on British.
That's right. For
British or the
Hawaii,
summertime. I mean,
we're like that's right. It's like 5 hours from the. I have to switch because here in Hawaii, we're 6 hours away from East Coast, and East Coast is I think 4 or 5 hours. So yes, it would have been okay.
5 hours from the summer, but from 4 with UT right now because it's
4, and so it's 10 hours from here. So that was 8 o'clock in the morning. All right, so I was correct. So Hawaiians, if you're listening, but regardless, it's over.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah, either way.
Well, we're experiencing it. So there are some big patterns, and I think that is what I'm focusing here. And Jupiter is one of the major players because it's not only in an activating T-square with Mars. You get those two together. That's pretty dynamic. But it's also a point of Thales, and I know this might seem Greek to people, but that's where it has a connection as a sextile and a trine as a flow to something that's in opposition, which happens to be the lunar eclipse. So Jupiter, and it's also in Cancer, so it's looking to the moon. So I think it is that philosophical. We could talk about that, how we see our opinions and belief systems. Anyway,
one thing I think is really big for this eclipse and the next one is that Mercury is combust the sun in the Virgo in its own home sign for the whole period. Mercury's only in Virgo for 16 days through this period, and it's combusts on the South Node right through that whole period. And it's approaching the South Node, both the Mercury and the Sun. And Nick Best, who refers to that as circling the drain, like they are going towards the drain, luckily literally. And I think, that's really about, you said philosophical. It's kind of letting go about a lot of old things that you thought were true in many ways.
Or details. Yes.
Yeah. All the details, all the,
and the daily routines, what we use in our life,
Well, I think in our own lives and just globally, right? So like with what's going on internationally, politically, so things that we were givens. And so I think with that point of Thales with Jupiter, then it's how that being a point of a mediator of how to be in harmonious communication with these points that could be, right? Oppositions can be combative, or they can be the great like seesaw that's balanced. That Jupiter energy. So like, how are we taking care of ourselves? The nurturing of self and others with that Jupiter in Cancer, and not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, not feeling like, oh, well, that system's broken. And okay, nothing matters, right? It could have people go to the extreme saying, well, everything I thought was true isn't, so now nothing's true, so I'm going to just not delete anything. Or maybe instead of going into the, well, nothing matters, it's refining what matters, which is that Virgonian energy.
Yes. It's a good point.
It's got a very cleansing, refining, purging kind of energy. This eclipse is so powerful. Lunar eclipses are often kind of have less attention on them than solar eclipses, right? But this one is huge, I think.
It is, emotionally speaking. And it's a good point there about the Chiron and that action, looking at that energy there that you're bringing up, Laura, because the healing aspects, it's tricky. In Aries, it's being ruled by, there's a lot of direction, like let's just move, let's just get something done. Yet always with Cancer, it's a process. You have to be remindful of that. Remindful, is that a word? It is now. At any rate.
And all the energies that are in Aries currently are all retrograde, as you mentioned. So, there's definitely kind of a releasing and going back over stuff kind of, and what needs to go, what can stay, kind of sifting and sorting, that very Virgo kind of energy as well.
Yeah. And I like the good mention about Mercury, Louise, because it's moving like 2 degrees a day. As you say, it's steaming right by, but it's still in close connection with this in whole period of time, meaning all that information that it's refining, collecting, which Virgo is so wonderful at discerning and discrimination is necessary, because Jupiter is making many stories. Like, well, I have this story. It's emotional. It makes sense to me. And Mercury's saying, well, yeah, but you know what? Maybe that part you could just you can edit. Edit it. Let's edit.
Yeah. and I was listening to a podcast interview with a Vedic astrologer, with Ariel Gutman, actually. And he said that in Vedic astrology, they see the planet combust the sun as being purified. So there's that purification, refining kind of energy again. So I feel myself like my thought processes are definitely changing and being refined and adapting, and
absolutely. It is really massive, particularly because we have 2 lunar, this is smack dab in between 2 Virgo new moons. One's the eclipse, but the other one's at 0 degrees. So this is, it's powerful. Perhaps in the
other one was almost an eclipse. It was, it was only a bit further away from the nodes than the actual eclipses. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, here, I was curious, because we are in the United States here. What is it doing with our nation? And I have the nation on the inside of the Sibley chart, which is very commonly used. just
IU.
Yeah. So that was 5:10 p.m. on July 4th, 1776, our Declaration of Independence. And with this particular lunar cycle, which people see on the outside, you'll see the moon and the sun at the base, which is actually the 3rd house and the 9th house. But interestingly, it puts our natal sun as this Thales point. So our identity, the identity of our ego, everything that's through that funnel that we understand things, is how we're navigating this release and change.
Yeah.
Laura,
And the moon is also, of course, is also Quincunx Saturn in Libra in the 10th house. So, there's a lot of adjustments happening. Well,
in fact, that makes a yod.
Louise,
it makes, and Laura, it makes a yod.
Oh, it does, yeah.
With
Venus.
With Venus. So that means our values, we're trying to, and Venus, of course, rules at Libra. So we have our values that are trying to be, Saturn wants to find out what's fundamental, like what's the real truth, and emotionally. You had thoughts, Laura.
And I would say, I'm sorry, Laura.
No,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, just speaking to the eclipse piece, is that dissolving of what we thought was true, right? That's happening at this very profound level as a nation.
Right.
Right. And we hold these truths to be self-evident, right? Is the foundation of this nation. And yet those truths to be self-evident are what is being called to the mat right now.
Definitely.
Louise, do you remember?
I was just going to say, you pointed out the yod from Venus in Leo and Saturn in Libra to the moon itself. And that is really kind of helping us to understand, 3rd house, that everything, we are all connected, and people are starting to realize that.
Oh, good.
I think. Yeah.
Well, I actually had another one, and it was of the UK, and we have no time in a sense before our break, but we can look at this and come back, because this is very powerful. This was from 1922 when Ireland broke away. England has their most current constitution, and not constitution. Their chart. And so that would be December 7th, 1922 at 3:28 p.m. General Mean Time in Westminster, England. But my goodness, it's lit up like a tree. It's just incredible. It's a very, with changing dynamics of activation with Mars. Again, it's where the natal sun is being highlighted with this.
There's a square. It's a square.
Grand square.
It's a square.
So,
and to Mercury as well.
To the
natal Mercury too.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Very intense and I mean, there are things that are percolating, right? I haven't heard if it actually happened, but in August, the Prime Minister of England was saying that if Israel didn't change what it was doing, it was going to publicly back Palestine, and which is enormous, given that the UK was part of the founding of Israel, right? Like, so that maybe that's part of all of this.
It's hard to know. Yep, we'll have to find out. Well, thank you both, Dr. Tad and Louise Eddington. We will be back in a moment, and everybody's just for a moment. While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the yin period of Virgo. By leaving a cycle based on the creative manifested legacy of our highest creative form, the energy of Virgo completes the last sign below the horizon of the self and requires discernment to perfect oneself through the mental process of critical analysis. As a mutable earth sign, duly ruled by Mercury, Virgo refines, heals, or fixes through daily routines, developing skills and services to control nature's chaos and maximize efficiency.
Talk Cosmos brings insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for the soul growth with hour-long programs. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. And to find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com. So grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
This is Martha Norwalk, every Sunday morning beginning at 9 a.m. Thanks in part to Natasha Venter at intuitiveclarifications.com. We cover the world of animals. This week, it's Best Neuroenergetic Balancing, Rasmussen Reset, and Energy Codes Sunday. Dr. Nels Rasmussen and Sister Linda Rasmussen join us, and they'll take calls and help you or your animal friends with emotional, behavioral, or physical issues. Hope you can join us. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Real people, real life, real radio. Alternative Talk, 1150.
Hi again. Okay, this is just a little break to let you know how these wonderful panelists are, what they're up to. So it's Louise Eddington at louiseeddington1d.com, Dr. Laura Tad at mythicsky.com, and myself, Talk Cosmos. So this new book, Louise, tell us. I think it's on Sacred Threads or Amazon.
Well, that's my publishing website, Sacred Threads, imprint.com, because I self-published this book. So it's my first self-published book, but it's my fourth book. And Jerry's just been speaking to me for quite a long time. I started doing presentations about 5-6 years ago on things like Oprah. So suddenly the book wanted to be out there. And I kept it deliberately concise, as you know. It's not some astrology books are really lengthy. I wanted this to be concise and a really easy read to get series more known in the world. So I'm very proud of it. Got some great reviews so far.
It is very powerful. I think both Laura and I find it valuable. Yeah. Laura, let's talk about your different opportunities here. We'll just go ahead.
So just I have my own podcast, Mythic Sky Storytime. And I've been doing a series all year that I'm within that I'm calling Cosmic Costumes, where I go through each sign. The whole episode is just on one sign. To talk about the sign and then have a myth associated with it and then a guided meditation at the end so you can develop your own relationship with the sign. And I just put out Aquarius earlier on Friday. So I'm almost done with the zodiac. And so that for that mini series within that. So that's on most podcast channels. And then I will be a guest on Sky Notes in a couple weeks. Talking about my work, my dissertation work, and the different ways that my counseling with astrology works and the retreats I run in Central America.
Super. And here it is.
Yeah, this is the retreat I've been running with a dear friend of mine that I realize I've somehow known for 30 years. I can't believe that much time has gone by. Wow. But so she is building a whole retreat center in Nicaragua, right on the beach, right where the jungle meets the ocean. And so I'll be helping her once again, running the Goddess Awakening retreat.
And that is on Mythic Sky. So you can go right.
So you can get more information and then that'll, you can register for February.
Super. Talk Cosmos on every week. And here are a few of the past ones that we have. And then coming up will be, actually, maybe that was in the past, mutable anyway. And coming up, though, this month, amazingly, the eclipse takes center stage. Today is on both of these. We'll go with the solar in a moment. And then next week is the solar again, but in a different context. It uses chakras and Sabian symbols, a little tarot, numerology with the astrology. The equinox is with vibrational astrology, and it's for every one, it's solstice and equinox. And the power of that is that Linda Barry, who's a great researcher and instructor on her, and works with David Cochrane as a collaborator and writes books with him, is that there are messages that vibrationally, that study of vibrational astrology illustrate or reveal for the entire season, which is really an intriguing way to look at the new season. And then finally, we capture the whole 4 lunar cycles with kaleidoscope visions. Myself, I'll be speaking with winecountryspeakers.org. It's free. It's a 2.5-hour presentation that we're doing with 8 of us, short little 10-minute talks on speaking. So I happen to be providing one on the emotional compass, using your voice to shine, light up, and be heard. Here we are. It is a solar eclipse. We're already within one, and it's like we're looking for the next banquet. My goodness. Seems a bit overwhelming.
Well, they do work together anyway, don't they? So.
They do. But we're in Pisces right now. Everything is like, how do I put, but this is helpful. Yes. Once again, those planets are retrograde. That's Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Ceres, and Chiron. It's a partial. It's not a total eclipse.
Yeah, it's about 72% is as much coverage as it gets in sort of southern New Zealand. Right?
Very south. It's not, it started 5 years before 1922 in 1917. I think that's very interesting. It is so close to this solar eclipse that we've seen dates back to 1653 and then 1922. And here this family, because they have these families, here's a little astrology nerdiness for people. They have long cycles, 1,200 years, anywhere from 1,000 to 15, but usually about 1,200 years, where it cycles 3 times around as it goes from one pole to the next. So this one just started. It's the 7th one of 71. I remember all these little things here. And so it's only seen down in the oceans, which means the ocean has a lot to say. I know it. You think of that. It has we have animals, we have life, we have currents that go up and down the world. We have our primary and our secondary emotions as they twirl around. It's life.
Well, we are mainly water too, so it's it's very oceanic. All of this, to be honest.
Yes. Virgo, perhaps. Louise, you want to?
Well, Virgo, I always think of Virgo really as at its highest. Of course, as we've mentioned, everything has highs and lows to it. But I always think of Virgo as the priestess kind of energy, or witch kind of energy, that very holistic kind of medicine, hands-on medicine, chop wood, carry water kind of energy of being very useful and meaningful in the world. But there's many ways, that Virgo shows up. But that's kind of my essence of what we are being called to be more of. These eclipses. So.
That's good. And again, to bring focus to people, it's ruled by Mercury. So that idea that Mercury is so close, whether it's purifying or whether it's its consort of messenger energy, is very valuable. Shall I go on? Laura, go ahead.
Yeah, well, we can look at the chart with it, but that idea of where I sometimes think Mercury's expression, Gemini is the data gatherer, and then Virgo is the analyzer of the data, right? And so it's with Mercury being so close with this particular upcoming eclipse, then it's really, there's a vulnerability to that analysis paralysis part of Virgo, but there is, right, that there's never enough information for Virgo.
Yes.
But it's also, its etymological roots of Virgos, meaning to be whole or complete, tells us that it's really about, like, Virgo has this awareness that everything in life is interconnected. And if I get enough data, the pin will drop into place and everything will make sense.
Yes.
It's the ideal. There's always an ideal of perfection with Virgo. I mean, we all have this aspect.
I think perfection can get a bad, there's perfectionism and there's perfection. And those are really different energies.
I say that with great love, because
but
it is with this ideal that isn't ever going to find its, unless you can stay in a nanosecond. Yes, it is.
Well, but I think perfection is part, we talked about a little bit before the show started, that idea of trust, which is that polarity to Pisces, is the trusting in the perfection of timing, trusting in the perfection of how things play out. Whether or not we can logically, Virgonianly make sense of it in our human limitations is a different story, but there's still perfection.
Yep. I like it.
It's almost like the gifts of imperfection, Brené Brown's book.
Yeah.
It's just accepting that it might never be quite perfect.
Yes. Exactly. what the process it is. Yep. The edge of Virgo. I know, Laura, you brought that thought and I loved it. So I put it down because to remind people, we did have this new moon a month ago on the 20th of August. Or maybe no, it was anyway of 0 degrees, and now we're talking about 29 degrees at the very end of it, and which will be on the 21st of September, and the next day is the equinox. You know, when the sun gets set in Libra, 0 degrees, and essentially this is not it verbatim, but it's the idea that at 30 degrees Virgo, which Sapien always usually. Most people look at it as the next degree. Its mission is to complete that task, and it's deaf to any distraction. So it's so focused.
So can I bring in one other little goal with this eclipse? 2 days before it, at 29 degrees 59 minutes of Leo, right, the last minute. Yeah, we have an occultation, a lunar occultation of Venus as well, and so that's just 2 days before this new eclipse, and I follow occultations a little bit, and as you know, I work with Venus a lot, so I particularly noticed this one, and it's I think it's really astounding how we've got this 29 degree Virgo eclipse, but 2 days before the last minute of Leo. And then both will move into Virgo, both Venus and the moon. And it just speaks to me of real endings and the beginnings of something new coming in so many ways. And the very last minute of Leo, that be the oligarchy or autocracy or whatever you want to call it. I kind of feel like it's going. Anyway.
That's so true. Looking at Leo in the sense of its highest manifestation of a which depending on what reason, but if it's only for selfish senses, yes.
And the first, of course, that new moon at 0 Virgo was conjunct fixed star Regulus, which moved into Virgo after a whole astrological age, 2,160 years. In Leo, from our perspective, that moved at the end of 2011. So, you know, I think these degrees are really important for this period. One at the beginning of the new moon, one at the very middle degree, 15, and then one at the very end degree. Then we have this occultation, which works like an eclipse also. Yeah, so it's like a triple eclipse.
They are. I remember, yes, I'm trying to remember if it was Mercury or Venus, but it was way back around 2012. It could have been, but yes, it's a powerful commentary. Thank you. So another indication of this significance of the universe wanting to get our attention on all these levels. Yeah, I don't know if we'll go into all of this right now so that we have some time to go forward. I think I had seen in one that there are other 29-degree Virgo solar eclipses. They're not all total, or they're not all partial. There's total, annular, which is when they're not quite the same size, and then a partial.
Yeah.
So people can see that from 68, 87, 2006, and 25. And I think we'll leave it at that. But the most interesting to me was just to think that prior to 68 was very soon after the great conjunction, I call it great, the conjunction between Uranus and Pluto in Virgo, which was 65 to 66. And then next year in 26, there'll be 5 times when it's trine. So in a sense, this is like sandwiched in between. Another turning cycle. And what do we have here? All this information.
This is just, we're looking at the chart that's happening simultaneously with this eclipse. We have when Mars ingresses into Scorpio, it will trine Pluto, with Mars being in Scorpio, Pluto being in Aquarius for the first time since the 1700s. In the late 1700s, then President John Adams,
it's square, not trine.
Can't make this stuff up, as they say.
Wow.
That the Alien Friends Act, quote, and giving the president the authority to, quote, deport any foreigners deemed dangerous to the peace and sovereignty of the U.S. And just the almost verbatim through line to what's going on now is astounding. And then the last time they were square at roughly the same degrees was during the Revolutionary War, and during that time was one of the times the British surrendered Fort Saxville, and that's really seen as the beginning of the end of the Revolutionary War.
Isn't that something? Because Britain, too, of course, as we know, with the lunar eclipse, and this one is really getting activated besides the United States.
So this is all happening, coinciding with this upcoming solar eclipse. You can see here
it's
that it's the next day, right? Or 2 days, that.
No, it's 2
Mars
days.
jumps.
It's actually the 24th.
That Mars will jump into Libra. Right. But its ingress into Libra sort of kicks it in as soon as it gets into Libra.
Yeah, but exact. So in other words, it just as a timeline too for people, we have the 21st with the solar eclipse, the 22nd, where it's the equinox with the sun at 0 degrees. And then 2 days on the 24th is this really significant activating square between Mars and Pluto, which are co-rulers, if one looks at it, at Scorpio. So it's a lot of power transformation. Let's look at this chart when we have some time. It is the actual chart on the 21st, and Greenwich timing would be in the evening, almost at 8 o'clock, just prior. It's 7:53:51 p.m. And these are Aries, 0 Aries charts. So the houses are not evident in all these charts. So just to clarify that with people. So we don't have MC and ascendant, because it can be, the energies are useful anywhere. But there are some real patterns galore again.
Yeah. How many fingers of how many yods or fingers of fate or destiny have we had lately? It's just like it's crazy. But that one right at Mars. Wow.
And it is Mars, which brings attention, Laura, to which I'm glad, because I had been thinking too with Pluto. So Pluto is. All of these are really involved in just about every pattern there is. And that would be the conjunction between Saturn and Neptune that are beginning to separate, but Neptune will follow and go into Pisces before February and January, when they both go back into Aries. So this is really checking back with our past, defining what is the truth, Neptune is truth, and Saturn wants to know what's essentially it.
Well, I wonder if some of this too, because so much of this is linked with like what's true, what's not, that it also being true for the individual, that it's not necessarily collective universal truths. It's for you. What is your truth? Because I think particularly with that Saturn or the Saturn Neptune, it can, in its healthiest manifestation, I think, be spiritual discipline, right? Is part of how that can manifest. And so looking towards that to find what's true for me. And it might not be true for my neighbor, but if it's true for me and my ability to sustain my truth and authenticity, that I think is part of then that Pluto-Uranus trine, right? That's part of what do I have to let go of? What do I have to release? Even though it's a new moon and we often think of new moons as beginnings, because it's an eclipse, it's funky. It's not as direct.
It's at the South Node too.
Yeah.
But what do I have to release so that I am living my most authentic self?
It is really wanting you to be fearless and go for your dreams. Is absolute good.
And I also
take on it.
I also often think of Saturn in Pisces because it's opposing this eclipse, is letting go of self-limiting beliefs that have probably been instilled by your upbringing, by the society, culture. And it's like, where are you limiting yourself because of these inner messages that you had running inside?
Yeah. What standards were imposed that may have been useful in developing yourself, but really don't apply right now for your dream that yourself wanted. You know, it may not be acceptable in certain areas, but yet it works. It's a fabulous idea.
And the man-made rules, some of the old man-made rules of society too, I think. I always think of Saturn as our laws, that human-made laws rather than...
Yep.
You know.
Absolutely. Here we have, again, the UK. And I think they're so close. What we did was just decide to bring attention to this one change with the solar, because here you have, and we could go back to that other chart, but it's Mars. Mars is the heat, Mars trining Mars, which is activation. But here in Aquarius, more of a cerebral, networking, intellectually innovative way of working for the traumas, perhaps, or when I say traumas, the pains, what to heal, what to alchemize, what to bring forth.
The eclipse itself is close enough to the North Node as well. The 5th house is like, yes, that's kind of wild. And with Gemini rising, new alliances, you already mentioned it, perhaps. So, yeah.
It can't be that time already. It seems like we have a couple of minutes. No. But we could talk a little more. Here we have this lovely Virgo. Yeah, but maybe I'm right. Maybe okay. That was an eclipse. We just stopped. Yeah. So how are we feeling? It is really a regeneration of past coming to future, to love, identify, and go, whoops. Thank you very much. Kind of like me going through.
We're going back over a lot of ground from earlier this year as well, from the first lot of eclipses. So, things are going to change fast after this month, I think.
This idea that we're going through 2 years of these solar Pisces eclipses. So it's really the universe.
September 24th, right through till February 27th. So.
Yeah. Which, Laura, like you were mentioning, about the bringing in the spiritual as our new, it was not new for many of us, but always a learning experience to embrace that it isn't just our highway that comes with our intellect, but as many artists say, they are channels for receiving and realizing how that works in our life. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, a lot of musicians talk about some of their biggest songs are written in a day, right? It's like it's just not even really theirs. It's just downloaded.
Yeah, like Lennon's. What was Lennon's his last one? Not
Imagine. I think he
Imagine.
wrote really quickly.
Maybe that's a good way to end our
Stevie Nicks talked about dreams being written in a day.
Oh, I love music. Thank you, Louise and Laura, and everybody listening. And
thank you for joining an insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests awaken consciousness by connecting soul growth patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.